Part 30. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 291. At dawn, the place where Jiugong Tower was located had been reduced to a smoking ruin, and the entire Jiugong Tower seemed to have experienced a catastrophe. The terrifying crater left where the underground secret room of Jiugong Tower was like a cooling crater. The entire courtyard, the entire Jiugong Tower and the buildings inside were all shattered, collapsed, and then burned until only ashes were left, with not a single blade of grass left. Among the broken bricks and tiles, a few smoking logs were still telling the horror of last night. The street was wet, and there were traces of firefighting everywhere. The police had already set up a cordon. There were several serious-faced police officers at the scene to maintain order. People coming and going looked at the place curiously, not understanding what was going on here at all, but no one dared to stay and watch the excitement. The buildings next to Jiugong Tower were more or less affected. When the first ray of the morning sun shone on the ruins of Jiugong Tower, a black carriage with the logo of the Judgment Army came from a distance and stopped next to the cordon. The driver got out of the car and opened the door. Xiaopingyan, who had changed into a black coat and returned to his original appearance, was the first to get out of the car with the scepter in hand. After getting off the carriage, Xiaopingyan did not go far. Instead, he stood next to the carriage, stretched out his hand, and respectfully helped the elderly priest Beizu get out of the carriage. Priest Beizu still wears a white robe. As the chosen priest of the Judgment Army, Priest Beizu's whole person's temperament looks awe-inspiring and inviolable. This is the second time Xiaopingyan has dealt with Priest Beizu. The last time Xiaopingyan entered the Judgment Army, it was also Priest Beizu who was responsible for the blood test. The person who finally recommended Xiaopingyan to join the Shadow Guard was also Priest Beizu. Xiaopingyan left here last night and went directly to the Judgment Army's camp instead of going elsewhere, because that was the safest place. The assassination last night was weird, terrifying, unpredictable, and dangerous. Xiaopingyan didn't even know who the assassin was, but one thing he was sure of was that his identity in Yangcheng had definitely been exposed. The assassin his people are here for Xiaopingyan, not for Yangcheng. Yangcheng has nothing to do with the world. He has not provoked any enemies or karma in Shangjing City. He is the only one. He has many enemies in Shangjing City. The people who want his life most now are the Blood Demon sect, the Huang family, and possibly the people from the garrison he offended, or Yao and Chang Li Chaoming, but Xiaopingyan feels that Yao and Chang Li Chaoming and his ilk are not that capable and lack a bit of courage. So, who is it? The timing of the assassination was so precise and the attack was so terrifying. If this issue is not clarified, Xiaopingyan knows that assassinations against him will probably happen one after another, and he will hardly be able to live in peace. During the assassination last night, Xiaopingyan's life hung on the edge. He wandered on the edge of life and death 3 times. The first time was the time for the assassination. If Xiaopingyan was still fusing the world beads at that time, he would definitely die. The second time he wandered on the edge of life and death was the secret room. When the explosion occurred, Xiaopingyan had mishandled it even slightly and died. The third time he was wandering on the edge of life and death was when Xiaopingyan rushed out of the secret room. If he had not foreseen the murderous intention outside, he would have turned around. The situation was broken. At this moment, he was probably shattered into pieces and buried in the void. When the assassination came last night, the Fortune God Boy was not with Xiaopingyan. When the Fortune God Boy arrived, the assassin had disappeared without leaving any breath, so Xiaopingyan didn't know where that person was. Where? As the inspector of the Judgment Army, he openly encountered such an assassination in Shangjing City. The Judgment Army could not ignore the matter, both public and private, and had to investigate it, so Xiaopingyan went directly to the Judgment Army to complain. The advantage of being organized is that you don't have to carry everything yourself. When necessary, you can ask the organization for help. As a result, Lin Yi directly sent Beizu priest to accompany Xiaopingan to investigate the scene. As the chosen priest of the Judgment Army and the Dark God of War, Priest Beizu's abilities are extremely mysterious to the outside world. Even Xiaopingan doesn't know what kind of abilities this old man has, which allows Ji Yi to investigate the killer. Leave it to him. Priest Beizu gently held Xiaopingan's hand and got off the carriage. As soon as he got off the carriage, Priest Beizu closed his eyes, took a deep breath of the breath here, and sighed softly. The breath of the void divine thunder is so strong. After saying that, Priest Beizu glanced at Xiaopingan and nodded gently. You are still alive. You are really lucky. The power of the void divine thunder is something that few below the Seven Suns realm can resist, even the stubborn steel ones. Stones will turn into powder in an instant, and some powerful void divine thunder can annihilate even the strongest in the Nine Yang realm. What on earth is that void divine thunder that you always talk about, and why is it so powerful? Xiaopingan asked modestly. He really didn't know what the void divine thunder was, in line with the principle of being responsible for his own life. Xiaopingan is absolutely not ashamed to ask. The divine thunder of the void is just a remnant, said the priest Beizu, who had already crossed the police blockade, stepped over the broken bricks and broken wood on the ground, and walked towards the inside of Zhougong building. Xiaopingan supported him. Looking like a well-behaved disciple of a younger generation, for fear that Priest Beizu would fall, Priest Beizu smiled and waved his hand. Stop helping me, I'm not that old yet. Ha ha ha, please come here again for my affairs. You are always a treasure in the Judgment Army. I can't bear it if you keep bumping into each other. Xiaopingan also smiled. What kind of remnants are you always talking about the divine thunder of the void? It's too terrifying. Those are the residual thoughts of the gods. Gods will also fight among themselves, and there will also be anger and murderous intentions. According to legend, when the gods are fighting and angry, traces of residual thoughts will condense in the void to form the manifestation of the material state, and then absorbed by the chaos crystal. After the chaos crystal absorbed the angry remnants of the gods, it became the void divine thunder. Xiaopingan took a breath of air. He had only heard of the gods in this world, but he had never felt or seen them. Unexpectedly, he almost came into close contact with the canyon of the gods last night, and he almost disappeared into ashes. The anger and murderous thoughts of the gods condensed into the void divine thunder. Otherwise, you think something can easily destroy all the powerful men in the Seven Yang realm? This thing is in the void secret realm. If you are lucky, you can find some. The void divine thunder used to kill you last night. The power should be very small, and the scope of the impact should not be large. The strongest void divine thunder can cover 100 miles in radius. If you encounter that kind of divine thunder, you will not be able to escape. Priest Beizu said softly. He glanced at Xiaopingan, stepped over a pile of broken bricks and puddles, and walked to the half-shattered and burnt plaque at the door of Zhougong building. The plaque was broken, and the original two plagues that read dreams abound at night, and spirits foretell good and bad luck now only have some fragments left. On the fragments, one can barely see the words dreams and dreams. With the words foretelling good or bad luck, Priest Beizu lowered his head and looked at the fragments on the ground with interest. Haha, you are quite capable, you can actually predict dreams. Ah, I'm just trying to make ends meet, so I don't have any skills, Xiaopingan said modestly, and continued to search inside with Priest Beizu, and then seized the opportunity to ask questions. You just said that the void divine thunder it is so powerful that it can cover a radius of hundreds of miles, so if someone from the blood demon god sect comes to the capital city with the void divine thunder to cause trouble, wouldn't a single void divine thunder destroy the entire capital city? Haha, when have you ever seen the ground under our feet being split by thunder? Priest Beizu asked. The so-called void divine thunder can only exert its power in the void. Once it touches the ground, the power of the void divine thunder it will be absorbed and dissipated by the earth, and its power will be greatly reduced, leaving only 1 in 100. Therefore, those who die in the void divine thunder are those who have the ability to fly to the sky and escape from the earth. The next time you encounter the void divine thunder, as long as you can fall to the ground in time, you'll be fine. Xiaopinggan took a long breath and said sincerely, "Oh, I understand. Thank you for clarifying my doubts. Next time I meet you, I will stay far away." As the two people talked, they walked through the ruins of Zhougong Tower and came step by step to the large underground pit where the secret room remained. The pit was more than 10 meters deep into the ground. Everything in the underground secret room had been wiped out. The stones in the pit had melted and became like a dark rock reef after the magma had cooled. There were also those clods of soil that were in the high temperature, completely hardened into large, earthy red lumps. Inside this big pit, there is also a small pit that goes more than 10 meters underground. The small pit is like a well, with a lot of water in it. Did the assassins first emerge from here? Priest Bezo came to the bottom of the pit, looked around, and asked directly. Yes, I was preparing to practice at that time, and the assassin suddenly came out from behind the rock wall of the secret room and attacked me. But the assassin was not a human, but a summoned object. Under my attack, the assassin also divided into two, one transformed into a warrior and the other transformed into a summoner. Later, it exploded directly in the underground secret room. This was the first time I encountered such a summoned object. I don't know what kind of world bead can summon that kind of thing. It will explode when you get out from behind the wall. It's interesting. Priest Bezo said, and with a movement of his hand, a soul crystal ball appeared in his hand. Priest Bezo held the crystal ball, as if surveying the scene, and walked around the pit, saying only he understood the strange words, and there was black mist rolling in the crystal ball. Slowly, a vague figure appeared in the black mist. The figure was very similar to the figure Xiaopinggan met in the underground secret room last night. He was holding a dagger in his hand, but around the figure's body, there were some strange and colorful lines that were rolling and changing. The one who attacked you in the secret room was the assassin summoned by the assassin's world pearl. Priest Bezo stared at the crystal ball in his hand and said to Xiaopinggan. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 292. It was indeed the summoned assassin. Although Xiaopinggan had made some guesses before, the assassin's ability was too strong and he could summon spells, which made Xiaopinggan somewhat suspicious. Xiaopinggan has fused the assassin world pearl and can actually summon assassins. However, the assassin summoned by Xiaopinggan definitely does not have those skills, and the assassin's ability seems to be beyond the scope of an assassin. Xiaopinggan frowned slightly and asked, what assassin was summoned to be so powerful? Priest Bezo's face already showed a bit of solemnity. The summoner who sent the assassin has fused 4 assassin world beads, so what he summoned is not an ordinary assassin, but a dragon-slaying assassin. Just like the alchemist, the level of the characters that can be summoned by some of the same type of world beads can be continuously improved after fusion, and assassin is one of them. The assassin's world bead is by no means limited to Tianguang Raniang's. In fact, Tianguang Raniang's assassin's world bead is the most common assassin's world bead. In addition to that world bead, there are other assassin's world beads, and other assassin's world beads. The boundary pearl can also summon assassins. Fusion of one assassin's world pearl summons a first-level assassin, then a second-level assassin, and a third-level assassin. After fusing 4 assassins' world pearls, one summons a dragon-slaying assassin. It's scary when an assassin has an exclusive name. A summoner who can summon an assassin of this level has a very high chance of being an assassin. This is a specialization in the art. Xiaopinggan's face also became serious. Are you saying that the summoner who wanted my life last night was a professional assassin and killer? Priest Bezo nodded, yes, and he is not an ordinary assassin or killer. That person's use of summoning assassins has been superb. reaching a state of fusion with other summoning secrets. In addition to summoning dragon-slaying assassins, the dragon-slaying assassin was also endowed with an earth-bending escape technique, a fire explosion technique and a summoner's projection of his own. With these three magical empowerments, the dragon-slaying assassin the assassin can enter the secret room through earth escape, and can also clone himself, cast summoning spells, and finally die. With such an assassination configuration, summoners in the 5 Yang realm and the 6 Yang realm may not survive. If you can survive, your fate is not generally speaking. I want to ask you. When there is an explosion in this secret room, there is a void divine thunder outside. 2 killing moves, one inside and one outside, are waiting for you, attacking from the front and back. In such a dangerous situation, how did you survive? This is the second time that Priest Baizu said that Xiaoping'an was in danger. In the eyes of Priest Baizu, it is indeed incredible that Xiaoping'an could survive such a killing situation. If it had been anyone else, he would have been able to dodge one but not the second. Drop 1. Xiaoping'an pointed to the small pit in the secret room with a wry smile. When the explosion occurred, I used the digging technique to instantly create a deep pit here. I hid in the pit and used a water shield to protect my body. Then I used the illusion of beacon fire to play with the princes and used the water shield to rush out of the underground secret room to detonate the ambush outside. Finally, after the man showed up, I took action to fight back, but I didn't expect to let him escape. After hearing this, Priest Baizu shook his head and sighed. It was too dangerous. Fortunately, you were still clear-headed at that time and were able to seize this glimmer of hope. Take a look, this is something that the man left behind before he escaped. I wonder what kind of magic it is, Xiaoping'an said, and with a move of his hand, he took out the masked man and handed it to the white bamboo priest. Priest Baizu took the mask and looked at it. This is the puppet of a substitute puppet. The substitute puppet is a rare summoning spell that requires the use of these spell props. Without this thing, that person may have been you severely injure or kill. Priest Baizu, who was holding the face mask man, stared at the crystal ball in his hand. A face mask man also appeared in the crystal ball, pointing in one direction. Priest Baizu walked out of the deep pit of Zhougong Tower and led Xiaoping'an toward the crystal ball. He walked in the direction pointed by the man with the face in the ball, and finally came to an alley more than 300 meters away. The man with the face in the crystal ball slowly disappeared. That person disappeared here last night. Can you always lock that person's aura from this thing? No, Priest Baizu shook his head and looked at the masked man again. Once the puppet's technique is used, all the breath on it will be completely annihilated, leaving only a faint mark of divine power. Is that person a member of the Blood Demon sect? There are still a few people from the Blood Demon sect in the capital who are missing. Could it be them? Xiaoping'an asked. Priest Baizu stared at his crystal ball. After a while, he shook his head and said, he is not a member of the Blood Demon cult. The mark of divine power on that person and on this puppet does not have the aura of the Blood Demon cult. It can be ruled out that it should be someone else who wants your life. At this point, Priest Baizu put away the crystal ball in his hand and took a deep look at Xiaoping'an. That person is already in the 6 Yang realm. The killer with such methods is definitely not an unknown person, and cannot be hired by ordinary people. You should think carefully about who you have offended. Don't you know the people I offended? If it weren't for my duty as an inspector, I wouldn't have offended so many people. Xiaoping'an spread his hands with a wry smile. I will ask the Judgment Army to pay attention to the abnormal person who has appeared in the capital recently, but you must also be careful. If that person does not succeed this time, there will definitely be a second time. You should keep a low profile recently and show less publicity. If not, live in Pingshan. It's safest to stay out of the spotlight for a while at Pingshan camp. Okay, I'll remember it. Thank you for your advice. I'll pay attention to it in the next few days. There's nothing to see here, I'm leaving. I'll see you off to old age. Xiaopinggan sent Priest Beizu to the carriage again, helped Priest Beizu get into the carriage, and finally watched Priest Beizu leave in the carriage. Priest Beizu came here to investigate and brought a lot of important information to Xiaopinggan. At least, Xiaopinggan could rule out the blood demon sect. Xiaopinggan actually would rather that person be from the blood demon cult. If that person is from the blood demon cult, it at least means that the blood demon cult has already taken action against him, and he doesn't have that many enemies in the upper capital. Taking one last look at the Zhougong building that was in ruins, Xiaopinggan shook his head. Fortunately, Xiadi had left last night and there was no one in the Zhougong building. Otherwise, someone would be implicated. How did that person find out that Yang Cheng was him? Xiaopinggan thought carefully as he walked. There were only a few people who knew that Yang Cheng was him, the Crown Prince, Cao, Lin Yi, and others. These people knew the rules and would not reveal their identities, let alone find killers. Deal with yourself. Apart from these people, the only reason why Yang Cheng's identity was leaked was that he had been targeted for a long time. You are most likely to be stared at when you go to get off work at the inspection office. As long as someone is staring at the inspection office, you can be bitten. That person has been staring at you for a long time and remains calm. Only then will you find out that you will incarnate. Chenyang City, and the god of fortune boy has not been with him in the past few days, so he has not found any signs of being followed. The time that person chose to take action was after he bought a bunch of world beads from Pengwang auction house. He wanted to take action when he was fusing the world beads, just because he could not specifically grasp the state of the world beads when he was fusing them, and he did not know the state of the world beads when he was fusing them. Knowing that he has remote viewing ability is only a little bit worse. Speaking of fused world beads, among the world beads I auctioned last night, the two world beads Ganluo worshipped the Prime Minister and Songfei Emperor conferred the title of Pig King have not yet been fused. Who is that person? Since it is not the blood demon cult and the killer hired by the Huang family has not arrived in the capital yet, who sent that person? Xiaopinggan was thinking hard as he walked. He always felt that there seemed to be some key information that he had forgotten, but for a moment, he couldn't catch it. He only felt a little light looming in his mind. By the way, today is the day when the poison demon of the blood demon sect prepares the poison of Juying, and it is also the day when the adjudication army takes care of the poison demon. After taking care of the poison demon, there is still a dark demon who is eyeing him at any time and is ready to take action. Why don't we just deal with the dark demon together, one less is one, and we will save ourselves the trouble. Just when Xiaopinggan was thinking about this problem, he walked out of Tianyuan Bridge unknowingly. A gorgeous black carriage drove up from behind and stopped next to Xiaopinggan. The curtains behind the carriage window opened, revealing a face with picturesque eyebrows and bright eyes. I don't know where Mr. Xia is going. I'll give him a ride on the way. The woman in the car was holding a fan, smiling softly, and her eyes were like waves. Mrs. Xian. It's been such a long time no see. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 293. In the carriage, Mrs. Xian was dazzlingly beautiful. She was wearing a black dress and hugging an orange tabby cat. The jewelry on her body was all worth tens of thousands. She had the temperament of a wealthy lady. She smiled and used a different kind of expression. He looked at Xiaopinggan who got into the car calmly. I haven't seen him for many days. Mr. Xia is in the capital like a fish in water and a dragon in the clouds. He really has a bright future. We only met once that day. I thought Mr. Xia would not remember it. I'm here. Madam, you are joking. I am just making a living in Shangjing City. I live a precarious life every day. It is true that the road is full of thorns. Xiaopinggan sat next to Mrs. Xian, with a relaxed posture, as if he regarded Mrs. like good friends for many years. That day, young Master Xia said, "If I am in trouble in the capital city, if you can help me someday, you will definitely return the favor to me. I wonder if your words count." Mrs. Xian spoke. Her words were as sharp as a knife, extremely sharp, and she got straight to the point. "Is there something difficult about madam?" "There is one thing, Mr. Xia just happens to be able to help." "Oh, what's the matter?" "Young master has detained a cargo ship at the dock, the Fulong." "Not bad." Xiaopinggan's eyes moved and he said directly. "To be honest, the Fulong and I have something to do with each other. I wonder if the young master can look down on me and lift the detention procedures of the Fulong. If the ship is impounded, it cannot be moved, and the ship owner will have to pay daily in addition to the fees at the dock. We will also have to bear the liability for breach of contract in the cargo transportation agreements signed with other trading groups and firms. This may cause ups and downs and rumors, which is a bit overwhelming." Xiaopinggan's eyes flashed and he asked directly, "Madam, does she know what happened to the Fulong?" Mrs. Xian sighed slightly. "Young master knows that there are many noble people in the capital, and the nobles spend a lot of money, so they will naturally be short of money. In fact, they also regret that they came out to embarrass the young master in the first place. The favors of those noble people are a difficult account to settle. Human feelings and sophistication cannot be explained clearly in one sentence. There are some things that have been entrusted to others and I really can't get rid of them, so I can only come forward. My original intention is not to embarrass the young master. I don't think the young master wants to make a big deal about Fulong Company this time, so the power of disposal has been handed over to His Highness the Crown Prince. Those nobles also know what the young master means. I will also mediate between those nobles and the young master. This matter is settled. This matter is in the past and everyone will let it go. They should treat the young master as if they have never known each other before fighting, make friends, and never embarrass the young master in the future." As soon as Xiaopinggan heard what Mrs. Xian said, she knew that the garrison had compromised. Mrs. Xian came to find him on behalf of the garrison this time. This is the rule of going to the capital. If you don't show your strength and ability, no one will treat you as a green onion. As long as you have the ability, it doesn't matter the garrison, you can also press his head down. Madam, her hands and eyes are very good. She actually did this business with the garrison. It's disrespectful. Mrs. Xian's eyes moved and she smiled slightly. How can I, a weak woman, survive here in the capital without finding some backers and making more friends? In fact, the business behind the Fulong is not just a garrison as the young master thought. The expenses of the Legion are too great, and the allocations from above alone are far from enough. The pensions for the fallen soldiers of the garrison have always been several times more than those issued by the court. Where did the money come from? It is not earned. Most of the money earned from those businesses is still spent on the Legion. The Legion has its own small treasury. If it weren't for this, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince would not have kept silent about such a big case. In a few days, Lei Hiang, I will resign from the position of Deputy Commander of the garrison and go home to retire. This is an explanation to the young master and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. The young master's anger should also be relieved. From now on, the nobles in the capital will know that the young master cannot be messed with. After hearing what this woman said, Xiaopinggan was indeed relieved, and he did not want to make the conflict completely irreconcilable with the garrison. It was not good for him to have too many enemies in Shangjing City. What happened this time was that he had a fight with the garrison. The garrison attacked him first, and he retaliated, and that was about it. Xiaopinggan pondered for a moment and said directly, "Since Madam has come forward, the matter of Fulong is over. Madam can tell the owner of Fulong that the inspection office will lift the detention of Fulong tomorrow." A smile of relief appeared on Mrs. Xian's face. Thank you, sir. There's just one more question I have, and I want to get an answer from the garrison. Excuse me, sir. Did the garrison commander ask someone to do what happened at Tianyuan Kiao night market last night? Xiaopinggan also asked directly. I can assure you that what happened at Tianyuan Bridge last night has absolutely nothing to do with the garrison. Mrs. If they want to take action against the young master, they won't come to me. How did they come about the conflict with the young master? How can they resolve it? They will never cause any extra problems and do such things that break the rules. How can Madam guarantee that? Mrs. Xian smiled slightly and said, the guarantee of Penwang Auction House is somewhat reputable in the capital city. The Penwang Auction House's sign has never been upside down in so many years. Xiaopinggan looked at Mrs. Xian, patted his head, and was a little surprised. So the Penwang Auction House belongs to Mrs. Xian. This makes the young master laugh. Penwang Auction House exists in all continents and countries. I am just a shopkeeper of Penwang Auction House here in the capital city. I rely on the help of my friends to do some small business. Hearing what this woman said, Xiaopinggan felt that Penwang Auction House seemed unfathomable. Ha ha ha, if all Madam does is small business, how can there be big business in the capital? Xiaopinggan laughed. Okay, since Madam says so, then I believe Madam. Young master is suspicious of the garrison. It is understandable that young master has made too many enemies here in the capital. I am afraid that young master has forgotten some of the enemies. If you are not careful, you may suffer big losses, Mrs. Xian said with profound meaning. What do you mean by this, Madam? Please tell me directly. Master, do you still remember that Sun Hao? Xiaopinggan frowned. Of course I remember. I heard a few days ago that Sun Hao's father withdrew a large amount of cash from the Longxin merchant group, a total of 500,000 gold coins. The purpose was unknown. He did not use it to do business or purchase property. Counting the time, then a few days ago, the young master happened to take up his post at the Donggang inspection office. He was very prosperous and enviable. When a wise man talks, it will make sense. The Sun family is the Sun family, it turns out to be the Sun family. The thing that Xiaopinggan had vaguely wanted to grasp before was suddenly revealed. Xiaopinggan finally understood what he had been ignoring, which was the Sun family. Xiaopinggan thought that the Sun family's affairs were over. Unexpectedly, it was not over yet. Although he did not leave any evidence when he killed Sun Hao, if the people of the Sun family thought that he did it, they would not look at any evidence. Maybe the Sun family didn't think so before, and didn't think they had such ability, but when he became the inspector of Donggang, the Sun family broke through. When he killed Sun Hao, he was not in the Three Yang realm. All this happened by mistake and finally came back to him. Mrs. Xian looked at Xiaopinggan's slightly changed expression and continued, Sun Hao is the most favored in the Sun family. Sun Hao disappeared and the Sun family never gave up searching. Although Sun Hao's second uncle has left Qingyun district, the position of deputy director of the police station was removed. However, the Sun family is considered to be a big family in Shangjing city and has many connections. If they had determined that Sun Hao's disappearance was related to the young master, the matter might not be so serious. It's easy to settle, and 500,000 gold coins can already allow many strong men to take risks and do some things in Shangjing city. This is clear enough. If Xiaopinggan is still unclear, there is something wrong with his head. Thank you, madam, for telling me. Xiaopinggan solemnly expressed his thanks with fists in his hands. Young master, there is no need to be polite. To be honest, I can't stand some of the Sun family's actions. I had a great chat with Madam today. Madam asked the carriage to stop at the intersection ahead. I'll get off at the intersection ahead. If anything happens in the future, young master, you can take this and go directly to the Penwang auction house to find me. Mrs. Xian took out a small waist tag with the golden penguin carved on it and handed it to Xiaoping'an. Is this a VIP badge from King Peng Auction House? Mrs. Xian covered her mouth with a smile, full of charm. This waist badge is a little more expensive than the VIP one. Young master will know about it later. Xiaoping'an took the waist tag and put it directly into the space warehouse. When the carriage arrived at the intersection in front, Xiaoping'an got out of the car. After getting off the car, Xiaoping'an called a carriage directly on the roadside and went directly to the Donggang inspection office. Now that we know that the Sun family is behind it, it will be easier to handle. Xiaoping'an is still holding the cards in his hand. Xiaoping'an, who was sitting in the car, narrowed his eyes. After putting down Xiaoping'an, Mrs. Xian's carriage continued to drive on the road. After passing an intersection, there was one more person in Mrs. Xian's carriage. No, there was one more voice. Mrs. Xian let people sit in the carriage alone, but there was another woman's voice in the carriage. The voice came from the tabby cat that Mrs. Xian was holding. The tabby cat spoke. Madam, the assassin hired by the Sun family is not easy to deal with. Why didn't Madam sell him a favor just now? I want to see if he can pass this level, Mrs. Xian spoke softly. Why? Mrs. Xian gently stroked the big tabby cat. I want to know why the Blood Demon cult spent so much effort to arrest and kill a few ordinary Skywalkers this time. The Blood Demon cult's behavior is a bit abnormal, and behind the abnormality, there must be a reason. Chapter 2 later today. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 294. Half an hour later, the taxi arrived at the door of the Donggang inspection office. Xiaoping'an got out of the car, paid the fare, and walked straight into the inspection office. There are many horse-drawn carriage dealers in the capital city. The coachman belongs to another dealer outside Donggang district and does not know Xiaoping'an. Luo Laojiao and his dog ran out from the concierge to greet Xiaoping'an. Luo Laojiao's waist almost bent to the ground. Sir, you are here. Xiaoping'an nodded slightly. The people at the inspectorate still don't know about the life and death test that Xiaoping'an went through last night, and everything is business as usual. Xiaoping'an came a little early today, much earlier than usual. After entering the inspection office, he found that all the teams in the inspection office were still there. A group of people were chatting in the office area. The atmosphere was like that of office workers. It's no different in the company. You don't know, when we took the Black Dragon to find that guy yesterday, his face was as white as paper and his body was shaking. He didn't believe that we found him so quickly. A team member of Long Chao's team said there was a lot of bragging and dancing. Ha, with the Black Dragon, it will be easier to solve the cases in our Donggang district in the future. Of course, the Black Dragon has already become famous now. It is the mascot of our Donggang inspection office. Okay, do you want to say that you are worse than a dog? Huazikan raised her eyebrows and said coldly, ending the chat in an instant. Then everyone saw Xiaoping'an. Sir. Everyone stood up quickly. Captains of each team come to my office. Xiaoping'an said without saying much, and walked towards his office. Xiaoping'an came to the office. Wei Miu, who was wearing a blue dress, had already considerately made a cup of hot tea. Xiaoping'an just drank a few sips of tea. The captains of the 6 teams from the Donggang inspection office had all arrived at Xiaoping'an's office. The captain of Team 1 is Fan Gang, the captain of Team 2 is Long Chao, the captain of Team 3 is Huazikan, the captain of Team 4 is named Fang Nu, the captain of Team 5 is Dong Menyang, and the captain of Team 6 is Sidu Hua. Everyone stands. In Xiaoping'an's office, no one dared to be late. Everyone came to the office with serious faces and did not dare to show any signs of slacking off. Sir, do you have any orders? After the captain's eyes touched each other for a while, Sidu Hua, a shameless man, was the first to ask. Well, there is indeed something going on. You may be a little busy today. Everyone should get moving and catch some people. Xiaopingan put down the teacup and said directly. Ah, arrest someone, arrest who? Sidu Hua then asked. I encountered an assassination last night. I suspect that the assassination was related to someone who intercepted me on my way back from Wang's house last time. That person had some accomplices in Shangjing City. I want you to kill that person's accomplices. Catch him and I will interrogate him personally, Xiaopingan said calmly. When the captains heard that Xiaopingan was assassinated last night, their expressions changed. The case of assassinating the inspector is not a small one. The inspector gave a direct order to arrest the assassin's accomplices. That was the right thing to do. Where is that man's accomplice? Please tell me, sir. Long Chao's face darkened, and he took a step forward and said. Xiaopingan smiled and nodded, don't worry, that person has many accomplices, distributed throughout Shangjing City. All of you will not be idle today. Long Chao, take your team to Shangjing City Longhu Temple. Capture the master of Longhu Temple, Master Longhu, for me. After arresting the owner of Longhu Temple, Sudan, the shopkeeper of Qingping Inn at the foot of Longhu Temple, is also an accomplice of that person. Don't let him go and capture him together. Yes, I'll go right away. After saying that, he turned around and left. Longhu Temple is not in our jurisdiction. It is in Yanglan district. This time, everyone can follow the normal procedures for arresting people. You first go to the Yanglan District Supervision Office to say hello and make a report, and then go to arrest people. Would this allow those people to get the news and run away? Don't worry, they can't escape. Yes, Long Chao responded, turned around and left. Fan Gang, the shopkeeper of Yuanxing Shipping Co., Limited at Pier 11 in the dock area is called Su Yuanxing. Su Yuanxing, his wife, his 2 sons, and a daughter-in-law are all involved in this case. Go to the dock area and arrest all Su Yuanxing's family. Seize all the ships of Yuanxing Shipping Company, arrest the people, seize the ships, and then go to release the arrest procedures of the Fulong. Fan Gang was silent, just nodded, turned around and left. Huazikan, take your people and capture Xue Qingmei, the courtesan from Beiwafang on the Chinan River, as well as Sister Yun and the red brand Huaziaoi from the Yuelaishun brothel in Ruyi Hutong. Then why do the suspects' henchmen still have these women from the land of fireworks? These fireworks women may still be somewhat famous in the market, but how dare they be involved in assassinating the inspector? Huazikan felt strange, but she didn't dare to ask more questions at this time. She could only nodded, and then left the office, preparing to take people to arrest the person. Fang Nu, take your people and arrest the shopkeeper of Tianya Piano Shop in Qingyun District and all the musicians in the shop, as well as the shopkeeper of Miaoxiang Building in Qingyun District and several perfumers. Yes, Fang Nu geared up, responded, and went. Dongmen Yang, there is a painting teacher at Shangjing College named Tao Ling. Tao Ling also has a wife who is also a teacher at Shangjing College. I will leave these 2 to you. There is a tailor shop in Dehua Lane on the street outside Shangjing College. And the tailor and shopkeeper of the tailor shop, you bring him too. Yes, Dongmen Yang frowned slightly, but still accepted the order, and then withdrew. If these people are all assassins gangs, then there are too many assassins gangs. They are spread across all walks of life in the capital city, from 3 religions and 9 streams. How did the inspector know that these people were all members of the assassins? Several captains took the order, and only Sidu Hua was left in the office. Sidu Hua looked at Xiaopingan eagerly. Sidu Hua, go to Hualong District, arrest the shopkeeper of King's Inn Winery in Hualong District, and then seal up King's Inn Winery. If you encounter resistance from experts at King's Inn Winery, you don't need to fight hard, just go directly, just send a signal and ask for support from the Judgment Army. When Xuanhuan just heard that King's Inn Winery had a master, he couldn't help but feel nervous, but Xiaoping'an's words made him feel at ease again. As long as he didn't fight hard, everything would be easy. Xuanhuan then took the order and left. The entire inspection office immediately started to move. All 6 teams were dispatched with murderous intent. The 2 carriages from the inspection office also left. If there were not enough carriages, they went directly to several major car dealers in Donggang district to transfer vehicles. Xiaoping'an stood at the window of the office, watching the 6 teams leave and return to the desk. Xiaoping'an pulled the bell, and Wei Miu then entered the office. "Let Qi Daifeng come to my office." Qi Daifeng came soon. "Sir, are you looking for me? Today the inspection office will arrest a lot of people. You clean up the cells. After they are arrested, just lock them in the cells. Just lock them up with good food and drink. Make them comfortable. Don't if you let people suffer, I will personally interrogate you if necessary." "Yes." Qi Daifeng also left suspiciously. After the explanation, Xiaoping'an read a book in the office with peace of mind, waiting for the news. After last night's assassination, Xiaoping'an no longer dares to find a place to fuse the world pearl. The assassin's methods are too terrifying. Xiaoping'an is also worried that the assassin will take advantage of him when fusing the world pearl, which will be tragic. Fan Gang was the fastest because the person he wanted to arrest was in Donggang district. In less than 2 hours, Fan Gang had arrested the person. The 5 members of the family of the owner of Yuanxin Shipping were directly thrown into the cell by him. After Fan Gang passed, other people came back one after another. This time when everyone went out to arrest people, they followed the rules and procedures of the supervisory office for cross-district handling of cases. They all went to the supervisory office in each district to say hello and explain the situation before arresting people. Because the various teams arrested were not important and sensitive people, people from the district inspection offices heard that these people were involved in the assassination of Xiaoping'an. Everyone was caught relatively smoothly. Most of these people are ordinary people who have no ability to resist in front of the inspection team. Only the 2 teachers from Shangjing Academy are summoners, and they are both summoners in the Air-Yang realm. Their cultivation level does not count. Low, but facing the inspection team that came to the door, the 2 people did not dare to resist at all, so they surrendered obediently and were immediately arrested. 6 teams captured a total of 32 people. After arresting the people, Xiaoping'an explained everything in the inspection office, then sat leisurely in the office, waiting for the people he wanted to wait for. In the evening, the sky over Shangjing city gradually became dense with dark clouds, and the weather became gloomy again. It began to rain, and there was a faint thunder in the sky. The rain became heavier and heavier, and the entire Shangjing city was shrouded in rain and fog. In the evening, thunder rolled in the sky, and a dazzling bolt of lightning fell at the door of the inspectorate. As the electric light disappeared, a man wearing a gorgeous blue robe and a gloomy face was already standing at the door of the Donggang inspectorate. The heavy rain fell from the sky, but it automatically slid away from the man's side, so that the man didn't get a single drop of rain on his body in the heavy rain. That man was actually quite handsome, a standard old handsome guy, with a broad forehead, a tall nose, dark hair that was combed meticulously, his eyes were as dark as ink, unusually deep, with 2 cold stars flashing in his eyes, and there was a feeling all over his body. There is an aristocratic temperament that is difficult to conceal, but at this moment, the aura on his body is a bit off limits to strangers, and his face is frighteningly gloomy. The man glanced at the sign at the door of the inspectorate, took a deep breath, seemed to be suppressing his endless anger, and then walked towards the gate of the inspectorate. This is the Donggang inspection office. No one is allowed to break in. Luo Laojiu in the concierge noticed the man and was about to stop him. The man turned his head and gave Luo Laojiu a cold look. The light flashed, and the whole person was directly sealed in the concierge by the magic of drawing the ground as a prison, and the sound was also blocked, unable to be transmitted at all, and he could only jump around in the concierge. The man ignored Luo Laojiao and walked directly towards the building of the supervision office step by step. Walking to the door of the inspectorate building, the door opened by itself, and Xiaopinggan's voice came from inside, "Haha, we meet again. Since we are here, let's chat in my office." Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 295. In the inspectorate, Xiaopinggan had already ordered all the summoners from several teams to get off work. Tonight, he took the initiative to stay at the inspection office. Except for Xiaopinggan, there are only a few ordinary people in the entire inspection office. This is also a precautionary measure. A summoner from the Seven Sun realm went crazy. Even if all the summoners from the entire supervisory office were added, it wouldn't be enough. Today's action is taking a huge risk to a certain extent. On the basis that you are not familiar with the other party's behavior style, you should be cautious when doing this. The handsome man had a sullen face as he walked step by step through the brightly lit corridors and front halls of the inspectorate. He met no one on the way, and finally came directly to Xiaopinggan's office. Wei Miu also got off work. He was the only one in Xiaopinggan's huge office, sitting behind a desk in his office, cooking hot pot leisurely. The entire office is filled with the smell of Xiaopinggan hot pot, which is a joyful smell that fills people with appetite. It was raining and miserable outside, but Xiaopinggan's office was very warm. There is a charcoal fire under the pure copper hot pot, and a layer of hot red oil is rolling on the bottom of the spicy hot pot. On the table next to the hot pot, there is a dazzling array of mutton, seafood, vegetables, mushrooms and other ingredients. There are dishes with various seasonings of oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. Xiaopinggan was sitting at a table alone, brushing his belly leisurely, full of a sense of ritual. The tripe caught on his chopsticks was immediately put into the rolling hot pot, and then he fished it out of the hot pot again, just like fishing, up and down. 1, 2, 3 times. When the man came in, Xiaopinggan was counting the number of times the hairy belly was in the pot. Although he had been prepared in his heart and thought about various scenarios of meeting the inspector, seeing Xiaopinggan meeting him while making hot pot was still beyond the man's expectation. The man's brows jumped, and he resisted the urge to put the hot pot on Xiaopinggan's head. He walked stiffly in front of Xiaopinggan, stood without sitting down, and said coldly, "Let him go." The people arrested by the Donggang inspection office today are all this man's relatives, friends, and even confidants. People whom this man met in Shangjing and had a slightly better relationship with him were all arrested by the Donggang inspection office today. Donggang inspection office. This act forced the man to come to the Donggang inspectorate in person to resolve the matter. This man knew that Xiaopinggan came for him. In the past few days, this man also heard some rumors. Those who intercepted Xiaopinggan that day, even the garrison fell into Xiaopinggan's hands. This Donggang the inspector's revenge made everyone tremble with fear. This Donggang inspector was determined to retaliate, and his methods were forceful. He was simply a devil badger on the grassland and should not be messed with. This man originally thought that Xiaopinggan would not be able to find him, because he was wearing a mask at the time, and the only people who knew about his action were people from the Huang family. Unexpectedly, Xiaopinggan still found him, and found out who he was. All the connections in the capital, especially the latter move, were too cruel. This man still doesn't know how Xiaopinggan knew about it. Xiaopinggan, who was rinsing the hot pot, smiled, still looking at the tripe in his hand. When he counted to the 7th time, he finally took the tripe out of the hot pot, dipped it in water and seasoning, and then put it in your mouth and chew it. The delicious food made Xiaopinggan close his eyes in enjoyment. After eating a piece of hairy belly, Xiaopinggan opened his eyes and looked at the man in front of him who was full of anger and looked at him with cold eyes. "You know, This tripe shabu shabu hot pot is not fresh if it is cooked too old, and it tastes bad if it is raw. It is said that it is best to cook it up and down. It tastes the most tender and chewy. Do you want some? I said, let the person go free, the man said word by word. While the man was speaking, the light bulbs in the entire office flickered on and off, and the light outside the window seemed to be cut off. A huge pressure radiated from the man's body, pressing down on Xiaoping'an like a mountain. The copper and metal lamp holders and appliances in the office were still flashing with lightning, and the tense atmosphere seemed to in the next second, everything in the entire office will turn into powder. I broke something in the office, I have to pay for it. Xiaoping'an was still rinsing his hot pot, as if he didn't see the man being angry, and he picked up a few more abalones and threw them into the hot pot. Minding his own business, he picked up another piece of lotus root slices from the pot and ate it, his words a little unclear. You think I don't dare to kill you? The man finally became angry. He raised his hand and pointed condescendingly at Xiaoping'an's head. In the man's hand, a black light was surging, like a volcano crater, and it seemed that there would be terror at any time. Something spurted out from his hand. Xiaoping'an smiled, raised his eyes and glanced at the man. Of course you dare to kill me, but after killing me, you have to be buried with me. No matter how cowardly or incompetent the adjudicator is, they will not let the inspector was killed in the inspection office and remained indifferent. If you kill me, it will be equivalent to declaring war with the adjudication army. Are you confident that you can escape the pursuit of the adjudication army after killing me? Hearing Xiaoping'an's words, the man's eyelids twitched and his face became even more gloomy. Xiaoping'an continued, of course, except for you who will be buried with me, the people I arrested today are all your accomplices. None of them can escape. They will also be buried with me. I have already explained it. As long as I have any accidents in Shangjing City, as long as something happens to me, none of the people I arrested today will have a good time. Someone will take care of them and send them to accompany me. I can replace all of you, too. It's okay, I've finished my words. If you want to take action, hurry up. If you don't want to take action, why not sit down and let's have a good chat? The look on the man's face changed, and he stared hard at Xiaoping'an, who was minding his own hot pot. After holding on for a few seconds, the man withdrew his hand and sat stiffly on the sofa opposite Xiaoping'an. His aura was still strong. What do you want? I don't want to do anything. I just want to popularize the law for you. According to the laws of the Great Shang Kingdom, did you intercept me that day and intercept an inspector who was escorting the criminal back to the inspection office? Is it illegal? The crime of robbing a prisoner, according to the law, is the minimum sentence to 10 years in prison. If you hurt someone, the crime of killing will be aggravated. You hurt me at that time and almost took my life. 20 years for betraying you does not count. Isn't that too much? Did I frame you? Of course, you were wearing a mask at that time. If you were shameless, you can deny that that person is you now. Let's talk about it another time. Do you want to deny it? The man said nothing and his face was as iron as stone. At this stage, his strong self-esteem made him silent. Deny? Are you kidding me? Is that what a person like him can do? He had no choice but to take action while wearing a mask. If he was caught, he still had to deny it. That would be shameless. And Xiaoping'an could pinpoint him so firmly, which shows that there is already evidence, and there is no point in denying it. The most important thing is that Xiaoping'an said that he would be sentenced to at least 10 years for the crime of robbing a prisoner. That was true. Moreover, he did hurt Xiaoping'an at that time. If he really wanted to be sentenced according to the law, 20 years would be considered a starting point. These are ironclad facts that cannot be denied. Of course, the strong will have some privileges in many cases, but the prerequisite for that privilege is that no one takes it seriously, and the strong is not controlled by others. And those people arrested by the Inspection Bureau today, have they had close contact with you? Have you stayed, gathered, or lived with them after the robbery? Have you had any financial dealings with them? Are you the criminals who kidnapped the prisoners are closely related to you? Do they count as your accomplices in Shangjing City? Or did they commit the crime of harboring and failed to report the knowledge? As an inspector, I arrested them for interrogation. Do they count? Abusing my power to oppress good people? Have I done anything wrong? You think that I, the supervisor, am easy to bully. If I don't fight back when I am bullied, then you are wrong. The man was still speechless, because what Xiaopingan said was reasonable. The arrest of those people by Xiaopingan today was really not abusing his power to oppress good people. Under Xiaopingan's series of questions, the man's strong aura disappeared little by little, and he completely withered. Tell me, how do you want to let him go? The man finally calmed down, and the aura on his body finally became less aggressive. Ha ha ha, don't be so sullen. I came to you because I actually want to discuss it with you. There are actually ways to deal with this matter. There is no need to be so stiff. Xiaopingan laughed all of a sudden. The serious aura on his body suddenly disappeared. He stood up, personally took a set of dishes and dipped them in water for the man, and poured the man a glass of wine. Here, have a taste. I guess you haven't had dinner either. I made all this myself, and the bottom of the pot is also my own secret recipe. I assure you that you have never tasted this kind of food in Shangjing City. Let's chat while eating. The man was almost knocked unconscious by Xiaopingan. Seeing Xiaopingan using a spoon to scoop out vegetables for him, he didn't know whether he should eat or not. If you have something to say, just say it. You take a bite first, and we'll talk later. Xiaopingan looked at him with a smile. The man was silent for a moment, then finally picked up his chopsticks and picked up a piece of beef. It tastes delicious if you dip it in water. I also prepared the dipping water. I have a unique secret recipe. Xiaopingan said. The man's movements were a little stiff, but he still dipped the beef in the water, put it in his mouth, and ate it in 2 bites. Then he looked at Xiaopingan expressionlessly. If you want to do this, you can say it now. Bar. Ahem, as long as Brother Jace, who agrees to be my bodyguard and thug for a year in Shangjing City, we will be completely clean. I can release the people I arrested today immediately, and I will never look for them again. Trouble, I won't look for you again after 1 year, how about that? Xiaopingan looked at the man with a smile. It's no fun to coerce ordinary people, but it's interesting to coerce the strong and masters of the 7 Yang realm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 296. This is not an ordinary place in the capital. You asked me to listen to you within a year. If you asked me to kill people, set fires, and invade the imperial city, would I also want to go? You have a beautiful idea. The man looked at Xiaopingan coldly. Haha, of course I won't let you do these things. I am the inspector. How can I know the law and break the law? We can agree that I will never let you do anything that violates laws and disciplines or bullies the weak, let alone I may deliberately let you die. You are a strong man in the 7 Yang realm, and I can't force you. However, if I am in danger and someone wants to attack me, as my bodyguard, you have to help me stop it, Xiaopingan said calmly. Is it that simple? The man's eyes moved. It's that simple, Xiaopingan nodded. 1 year is too long, half a year at most, and I will only be your bodyguard. Half a year is okay, but if I am injured by an assassin within this half year, even if I lose a hair, it means that you are deliberately conniving and want to kill people with a borrowed knife. The debt will still be calculated on your head, and all my previous promises will be invalid. I can catch those people I let go today. The two of them seem to be negotiating, fighting for their own interests bit by bit. If you provoke a strong man from the 8 Yang realm and the 9 Yang realm, do you want me to carry the thunder for you? No matter what the reason is, if someone above the 7 Suns realm takes action against me, you don't have to worry about me and can save your own life. But if someone below the 7 Suns realm hurts me, then it's your responsibility. The man pondered for a moment, but did not see any flaws or traps in Xiaoping'an's conditions. He focused his eyes and made up his mind, just half a year. Just half a year, Xiaoping'an nodded affirmatively. Originally, you would have been in prison for at least 20 years for what you committed, and the people around you would also be implicated by you. Now you only need to stay with me for half a year, and all our grievances will be resolved. Just write it off, and you don't have to take any big risks. If you are not willing to meet these conditions, then I can only wonder if you want to solve this matter. Okay, then half a year, it's a deal. It's a deal, Xiaoping'an smiled. He stood up directly, walked to his desk, and pulled the bell. Just a few seconds later, Qi Daifeng arrived at Xiaoping'an's office. Qi Daifeng didn't dare to glance around, as if he didn't see that there was an extra person in Xiaoping'an's office. Let all the people arrested today be released and let the people at the dealership send them back, Xiaoping'an directly ordered Qi Daifeng. Yes. A few minutes later, in the pouring rain outside, those who had just been arrested by Xiaoping'an today walked out of the inspection office one by one. On the street outside the inspection office, carriages from Donggang district's carriage shops were lined up. Coachmen wearing ponchos held umbrellas for those people. They picked up those people into the carriages and sent them back one by one as if they were picking up VIPs. Home. Xiaoping'an stood with the man in his office, watching those people leave the inspection office one by one. The last one to leave was a young woman who was as bright as fireworks. Even in the heavy rain, every move of that woman was extremely graceful. The woman walked out of the inspectorate and before getting in the car, she seemed to feel something and turned her head. Looking towards the window of Xiaoping'an's office in the rain, his eyes were full of worry. The man shook his head and waved slightly before the woman got in the car. Warren Shueqingmei from Beiwafang is your confidant. It's really enviable. Xiaoping'an held a wine glass next to him and praised loudly. How do you know my relationship with these people? The man turned to look at Xiaoping'an and asked coldly. Compared with Xiaoping'an's strength and the background of the Judgment Army, Xiaoping'an's contacts in Shangjing City were actually touched by Xiaoping'an. This was what made the man most afraid of Xiaoping'an. Many of his contacts were even the Huang family doesn't know. Xiaoping'an shrugged. You will be with me for half a year in the future. You can slowly guess. By the way, what do you want me to call you, brother master? Don't mention my name, you will call me Iron Mask from now on, the man said, and with a move of his hand, he took out an iron mask and put it directly on his face, regaining his usual indifference. Making outsiders his identity is difficult to guess. Okay, then I will call you Brother Iron Mask from now on. There have been a lot of people coming to the capital recently who want my head. I was assassinated last night, so please worry about Brother Iron Mask. Since I promised you, I will naturally keep my promise. Okay, with Brother Iron Mask's words, I feel relieved. I will spend the night at the inspection office tonight, so I will trouble Brother Iron Mask to accompany me here. Brother Iron Mask can do whatever he wants in the inspection office. Come on, let's continue making hot pot. Xiaoping'an sat back down in his seat with a smile and started eating by himself. The man wearing the iron mask felt really bad seeing Xiaoping'an being so carefree. After snorting coldly, he left Xiaoping'an's office and came outside the office. He found a place to sit down and closed his eyes to relax. Xiaopinggan felt relieved when he saw that Brother Iron Mask hadn't left. After finishing the hot pot, Xiaopinggan waved his hand and put away all the things on the table. Then he hummed a little tune and went to the lounge connected to the office to prepare. Fusion World Bead. He still has 2 world beads that have not been fused. One is Gan Luo worships the Prime Minister and the other is Songfei Emperor conferred the title of Pig King. If not for last night's troubles, these 2 world beads Xiaopinggan would have fused long ago. But after it came out last night, it was delayed. Now that there are masters of the Seven Suns realm protecting him, Xiaopinggan finally feels relieved. The first thing Xiaopinggan took out was the boundary bead of Gan Luo worshipping the Prime Minister. After pricking the blood, Xiaopinggan was surrounded by a cocoon of light in just a moment. Opening his eyes, Xiaopinggan squatted on the edge of a pond, looking down at the goldfish in the pond. The water in the pond was very clear, like a mirror, reflecting Xiaopinggan's face at the moment. He was an 11 or 12-year-old boy, with an energetic face and piercing eyes that was unforgettable at first sight. This is Gan Luo, and Xiaopinggan is also a little excited. Looking around the world, Gan Luo is the only young boy in the world who can achieve such results at the age of 11 or 12. Gan Luo became Prime Minister at the age of 12 and left a lasting legacy. What a great young man in China! A strong young man will make a country strong. The emergence of a young man like Gan Luo in the Qin dynasty was actually some kind of foretelling from God for the Qin dynasty to dominate the world. Xiaopinggan raised his head and looked around. The pond was surrounded by carved beams and painted buildings, and was a huge mansion. Thinking of Gan Luo's identity recorded in history books, Xiaopinggan's heart moved. Could this be Lu Buiwei's home? Gan Luo's grandfather was Gan Mao, and Gan Mao also served as the left prime minister of the Qin dynasty. However, later Gan Mao escaped from Qin and defected to Qi, and the Gan family fell. Otherwise, Gan Luo would not have he became Lu Buiwei's customer at a young age just to make a living. At this moment, 2 servants from the family walked through the flower path next to Gan Luo with their hands clasped and their heads lowered, chatting as they walked. Zhang Tang is so brave. Marquis Wengzin asked him to go as an envoy to Zhao, but he dared not to go and angered Marquis Wengzin. "Shh, keep your voice down." When Marquis Wengzin came back just now, he was so angry that he threw things in the study. Hearing the conversation between the 2 servants, Xiaopinggan's heart moved. He stood up from the edge of the pond, walked through the flowers, and stopped the 2 servants. When the 2 servants saw Xiaopinggan, they also saluted quickly. "I've seen the young concubine." Gan Luo's status in Lu Buiwei's house was that of a young concubine, and Lu Buiwei liked him deeply. However, his status was much higher than that of the 2 servants, so the 2 servants of Lu's house did not dare to be careless when they saw Gan Luo. "Where is your lord now?" Xiaopinggan asked directly. "Your Excellency is in the east study now," one of the 2 servants pointed in one direction. "Okay, let's get down." The 2 servants left quickly. Xiaopinggan thought for a while, smiled on his face, and walked directly towards the east study room. When he arrived outside the east study, Xiaopinggan asked the attendant outside to report to Lu Buiwei for an audience. A moment later, he saw Lu Buiwei with a gloomy face in the east study. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 297. It's raining heavily, and today's trip to Beijing is bound to be a bit restless. Just as Xiaopinggan was integrating Jizu with peace of mind, Inspector Jin Yang Yao Yushang got off a taxi and walked into an apartment. What was different from usual was that Inspector Jin Yang Yao Yushang was traveling a little low-key at the moment. He was not surrounded by people. He was wearing a black hat and a black windbreaker. He lowered the brim of the hat and pulled up the windbreaker. The collar of his shirt covered most of his slightly swollen face, and he was holding an umbrella. Damn it, this damn weather. Yao Yushang's shiny leather shoes were wet by the accumulated water on the roadside, and he couldn't help but curse in annoyance. This rainy day made him a little irritable. Now Yao Yushang doesn't like rain very much. It seemed that it was raining heavily the last time he intercepted Xiaoping'an. As a result, that day, Yao Yushang did it in front of the subordinates of the inspectorate. His majesty was shattered. From then on, he didn't like such weather, because such weather always reminded him of how he lost people in front of Xiaoping'an that day. In the past few days, although the people in the inspection department still treated him respectfully, Yao Yushang even felt that the eyes of the people in the inspection department looked at him differently from before. There seemed to be a little more, and there seemed to be less. Something happened, very subtle, hard to describe. Ever since Xiaoping'an safely left the Pingshan camp of the Judgment Army and was given the Judgment Scepter, the eyes of those in the Jinyang Supervisory Office gradually changed when they looked at him. After being unable to fight against Xiaoping'an through hard work, and even the relationships he was proud of in the Pingshan camp failed, Yao Yushang has been suffering from insomnia recently. Especially on rainy days like this, the depression and irritability in his heart, and the smoldering fire in his heart, eventually turned into full of desire, giving Yao Yushang an urge to vent. When entering the apartment, Yao Yushang looked around alertly and found nothing unusual on the street, so he closed his umbrella and walked into the apartment. The doorman of the apartment didn't know Yao Yushang, but he felt that the man looked familiar. He often came and went to the apartment, so he should be a frequent visitor to the apartment, so he didn't ask anything and allowed Yao Yushang to go upstairs. This apartment is a high-end apartment in Shangjing City. It is located in Jinyang District, near a bustling commercial district. There are many people coming and going outside every day. Outside the apartment is the famous jewelry street in Shangjing City, which is the most popular. It is popular with fashion-conscious young ladies and ladies in Beijing, and there is an endless stream of people coming and going every day. Walking on the corridor of the apartment, Yao Yushang's heart became hot when he thought of the beauty waiting for him in the apartment building. He couldn't wait to take out a porcelain bottle from his pocket, then opened the porcelain bottle and poured out a dark red pill. Take the medicine and swallow it in one gulp. The summoner's body is much stronger than that of ordinary people, but no matter how strong the body is, it can be drained by alcohol and sex. For the rich people in Shangjing City, as long as they have time, enough money, and a little luck, it is not difficult to use money to pile a person into the Three Yang realm, but after the Three Yang realm, there are still, if you want to make progress, you don't have to rely solely on money. Yao Yushang is one of those people whose body is hollowed out by wine and sex. His cultivation level is also in the Three Yang realm. For a person like him, all the world beads on the market that can be fused have already been fused by him. If you make further progress in your cultivation, you can only find those rare world beads. Only rare world beads are not included, because there are also risks in fusing those rare world beads. If they fail, they may explode their brains and die. After seeing those people who fused their world beads and died, Yao Yushang no longer has, in order to have the courage to risk his life to practice, he cannot accept even a 1/10 chance of death. Therefore, he must have the corresponding spiritual crystal to ensure that it is foolproof before it can be fused. Rare world beads paired with rare divine mind crystals are extremely scarce resources in Shangjing City. Even Yao Yushang has not obtained many sets in recent years. Therefore, he was in the Three Yang realm 8 years ago. To this day, it is still the Three Yang realm, and there is still a long way to go before the Four Yang realm. A summoner loses his spirit in practice, and what is left can only be gradually corroded by wine, sex, and wealth. Swallowing the pill in his stomach made Yao Yushang harden and swell again mentally and physically, and his breathing became a little rapid without realizing it. Yao Yushang came to a room on the 4th floor of the apartment and knocked lightly. After a few seconds, the door of the room opened, and a graceful and enchanting figure appeared behind the door. Yao Yushang squeezed in, closed the door with a bang, dropped the umbrella, became a little impatient, and started to gnaw at it. "Baby, you miss me so much. Take a shower first. The graceful and enchanting figure smiled and pushed Yao Yushang towards the bathroom. Wash together, let me take a good look at you. Yao Yushang smiled lewdly, taking off his hat and clothes while pulling the woman towards the bathroom. The woman didn't resist. By the way, do you know Inspector Xiaopingan of Donggang? He should be your colleague. When entering the bathroom, the woman suddenly said this. This name almost made Yao Yushang wilt. Why are you mentioning him? Yao Yushang forced a smile, feeling a little guilty, thinking that the beauty in front of him already knew about his embarrassment in front of Xiaopingan. In front of this woman, he had always maintained his integrity as Jinyang governor. Only with the dignity and authority of the envoy did he get this woman. It's nothing. The woman didn't notice anything unusual about Yao Yushang, and said with a smile to herself, yesterday I had a tea party with a few ladies. Everyone said that Donggang Inspector Xiaopingan could summon a magical dog. What? The case can be solved. If you know that person, why not bring him another day? My brother happens to have a business in Donggang district. I will also call my brother here and let them get to know each other. It will also be a good one to take care of him. Let's talk about it then. Yao Yushang responded vaguely and pulled the woman into the bathroom. A few minutes later, there was a bang, and the iron door of the apartment collapsed suddenly. A big hole was burned out of the iron door and it melted directly. A man in his 40s wearing the uniform of an Imperial City Guard officer and a beard stood outside the door with a livid face. He also held a magic wand in his hand. He was followed by 4 or 5 people, standing menacingly outside the door. Damn it, who is it? Yao Yushang, who was only wrapped in a bath towel, roared angrily and rushed out of the bathroom with a livid face. When Yao Yushang saw the collapsed and burning door of the apartment and the men in the room, especially the Imperial City Guard officer, Yao Yushang's expression suddenly changed. Without even thinking about it, a fireball exploded instantly. Breaking the window of the apartment, he turned around and tried to run away. The officer's eyes flashed with cold light, and he threw a talisman directly at Yao Yushang. The talisman flew towards Yao Yushang. The moment Yao Yushang turned around, a dazzling bolt of lightning erupted from the talisman. Came out and hit Yao Yushang directly. Yao Yushang's hair was burnt, his whole body was smoldering, and he screamed. He was thrown heavily by the lightning in the talisman, hit the wardrobe in the room, and then hit the ground. He was foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. Stop! The towel wrapped around Yao Yushang also fell to the ground. Yao Yushang's whole body was suddenly naked. The officer walked over directly and stepped on Yao Yushang's lower abdomen with a cruel kick. Yao Yushang's lower abdomen was all bloody and bloody. Ah! Yao Yushang, who was almost unconscious, jerked his body sharply, his eyes bulged forward and almost fell to the ground. Then he vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. The woman in the bathroom had disheveled hair and a pale face. She was also wrapped in a bath towel and was pulled out. When the woman saw the man wearing the uniform of an Imperial City Guard officer, her expression changed and she was almost paralyzed with fear. Sir, a bitch is a bitch. I shouldn't have redeemed you from the boat in the first place and made you do such despicable things that disgrace my family. The man wearing the uniform of an Imperial City Guard officer stepped forward and slapped him twice. He slapped the woman on the face, causing her mouth and nose to bleed, her face to swell, and she fainted. Take away. With a wave of the officer's hand, the men who were accompanying him to catch the rapist took out sacks, put Yao Yushang and the woman in a sack respectively, and left the room with them. Outside the apartment building, 2 black carriages were waiting at the door of the apartment building in the heavy rain. The gas lamp at the door of the apartment building shone palely, reflecting the dark outlines of the 2 carriages. A moment later, the gloomy Imperial City Guard officer and his entourage walked out of the apartment building carrying 2 sacks, and got into 2 carriages respectively. The 2 carriages then left from 2 directions, and 1 carriage headed towards the imperial city. Going in the same direction, another carriage drove towards the Pingshan camp of the adjudication army and disappeared in the rain in the blink of an eye. At the window of a private room on the 2nd floor of a restaurant not far from the apartment building, Li Chaoming was opening a gap in the curtain with his hand. He stood behind the curtain, squinting and watching everything happening at the door of the apartment building. Looking at the 2 people who were put into the carriage in sacks, Li Chaoming's hands were shaking slightly and his mood was not calm. But there was no other way. If he didn't do this, perhaps he, Li Chaoming, would be worse off than Yao Yushang in the sack. Li Chaoming shuddered when he thought of Xia Ping'an's cold gaze and patting his shoulder with a smile. At this time, if someone in Jinyang district must be unlucky and must make an explanation for intercepting Xia Ping'an last time, Li Chaoming would naturally choose Yao Yushang. It is best if your dead Taoist friend is not dead but a poor Taoist. And if this stick didn't kill Yao Yushang completely, then it would be him and Li Chaoming who would be unlucky. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 298. Li Chaoming knew that after what he did today, he and Xia Ping'an would be a grasshopper on the same line from now on. No, he was a grasshopper, and the line was in Xia Ping'an's hands. But the situation is stronger than people, and he has to do the same. The only thing that gave Li Chaoming some comfort was that Yao Yushang was not a good guy. In the past, he always relied on himself as an inspector to run rampant in Jinyang district. He was arrogant in front of him and did not take him seriously at all. Inside, the feeling of knocking down a big shot made Li Chaoming feel a little scared, but also felt an indescribable sense of excitement, and the adrenaline in his body was soaring. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door outside the private room. Come in. Li Chaoming responded and turned around. A man with a smart face wearing plain clothes and a hat walked in, came to Li Chaoming's side, bowed slightly. Sir, the matter has been settled. Guo-sen, thank you for your hard work, Li Chaoming said, having already taken out a gold ticket with a denomination of 1,000 gold coins and handed it over. You can hide outside for a few days. I have already made arrangements for you. When this matter is over, if you come back, I will reserve the position of security captain of Jinyang District Police Station for you. Thank you, sir, for cultivating me and doing things for you. It's because you think highly of me. Don't worry, sir, this matter has left no trace. I sent the letter in person, and it didn't go through other people's hands. Besides, this is what I want to do. Yes, during the last investigation, Yao Yushang slapped me in the tea house. I have long disliked Yao Yushang and hold a grudge in my heart. This time I am taking revenge on him. This matter has nothing to do with you, sir. I'll wait for your call at any time. The man named Guo-sen didn't take the golden ticket. After saying that, he slowly exited the room and closed the door again. Li Chaoming never thought that his subordinate, who usually acted low-key and steady, would be so sensible at this time. Okay, this is better. Li Chaoming breathed a sigh of relief, with a smile on his face. More than half an hour later, the black carriage that left the apartment building outside arrived at the gate of the adjudication army's Pingshan camp. The Imperial City Guard officer got out of the car with a cold expression, holding a sack in his hand. Under the gaze of several sentries at the gate of the Pingshan camp of the adjudication army, he walked step by step to the gate of the Pingshan camp. This is the Pingshan camp of the adjudication army. Stop those who come. An adjudication army guarding the door raised his hand and said coldly. The Imperial Guard officer didn't say anything, but stood outside the yellow line of the gate. He opened the sack and poured the naked Yao Yushang out of the sack like he was taking out garbage. A naked butt-faced man with a fat head was thrown out of a sack and thrown at the door of the adjudication army's camp. The scene was quite eye-catching. Fortunately, it was already dark and raining at the moment, so no outsiders dared to linger at the gate of the adjudication army's Pingshan camp, and no one else could see the scene. Yao Yushang fell to the ground like a dead dog, letting the raindrops fall on him. He remained motionless, and his pale body was like a piece of rotten meat, lying in the water. "What are you doing?" The sentries of the Judgment Army stationed at the gate of the Pingshan camp suddenly gathered around. Some of them had already taken out weapons such as staffs, thinking that they encountered someone looking for trouble. Someone actually dares to come to the gate of the adjudicator's camp to find trouble. It's really audacious. Is he tired of living? Yao Yushang, the inspector of Jinyang of the adjudication army, insulted the family members of the Imperial City Guard's officers and was caught in the act by me. Now I have sent Yao Yushang back. According to the laws of the Great Shang Kingdom, he committed adultery with the family members of the soldiers of the Great Shang Kingdom. It's a serious crime. Do you want the adjudicator to give me an explanation? The Imperial Guard officer raised his head and said loudly, his voice carried far in the rain. This Imperial City Guard officer is also a ruthless person. Hearing that the Imperial City Guard's officer said that the man on the ground was actually an inspector of the adjudication army, who was caught and raped and seriously injured on the spot, the sentries of the adjudication army stationed at the gate of the Pingshan camp were also shocked and quickly reported to the camp. Most of the ruling army was alarmed. At the same time, in Li's bookstore, looking at the heavy rain outside the bookstore, Dark Demon began to feel suspicious. According to time, 3 days have passed. Today is the day when the poison demon will send him the Juying poison. The bookstore is almost closed now. So the poison demon hasn't come yet. Has something happened? As soon as the water demon Xiao Dahai died 2 days ago, the dark demon became extremely cautious. The gas lamp was a little dim in the heavy rain, and there were not many people on the street. Taking advantage of the opportunity to buy chestnuts, Dark Emo walked around outside with an umbrella and found nothing unusual, so Dark Emo was left hanging. I felt a little relieved. It seemed that I was still safe, but what happened to the poisonous demon? Feeling a little uneasy, after waiting in the bookstore for a while, Dark Demon closed the bookstore, came to the street with an umbrella, and hailed a passing taxi. "Where is this guest going?" "White Dragon Cave," Dark Demon replied. An hour later, the night got darker, but the rain didn't stop. When the taxi ride of the Dark Demon arrived at Bailongdong, it passed the Bailongdong water plant and discovered that the entire Bailongdong water plant had been blocked by the Judgment Army. Even the roads outside were impassable. The carriage passing by could only detour. After questioning, I learned that the Judicial Army made a surprise inspection of the Bailongdong water plant today, and no one in the water plant was allowed to leave. Could it be that something happened to the poisonous demon? The dark demon sitting in the carriage looked at the formation of the adjudication army blocking the road and the water plant outside. He was calm on the surface but frightened in his heart. Looking at the carriages in front of him that turned around and took a detour, the dark demon asked the driver to go to Qingfeng Town. Qingfeng Town is located to the north of Shangjing City, where there is a Qingfeng water plant. When the dark demon arrived in Qingfeng Town, he discovered that the Qingfeng water plant was also blocked and inspected by the adjudication army. Today's ruling army didn't know what was going on. They suddenly dispatched a large number of troops and made a sudden inspection of the 4 major water plants in Beijing. All the work and logistics personnel of the water plants were left in the water plants. Is this sudden inspection a coincidence or is it just for the poisonous demon? Will the poisonous demon be okay? I just met the poisonous demon 3 days ago. Will I be exposed? No, I shouldn't be exposed yet. If I were exposed, I wouldn't be able to wander around now. It's just that the poison demon, I'm afraid he's in danger. I wonder if he can survive the sudden inspection by the Judgment Army. Dark Demon got off the carriage outside Qingfeng Town, and after paying the fare, he disappeared into the wind and rain. What the dark demon didn't know was that the god of fortune had sat on his head the moment he left the bookstore and followed him all the way. Bailongdong water plant. The poisonous demon fell to the ground in the water plant conference room, his body completely shattered and still burning violently. Every part of the poisonous demon's body, even his hair, clothes, nails, and shoes, were burning. It was burning with a blue-white flame, and the temperature was very high. A translucent water cover covered the poison devil's body, preventing any breath from the poison devil's body from being exposed. Outside the translucent water cover, there was a silver net covering it, which was a double insurance. High-temperature flames are the best purifier for any poison. The poisonous demon's body in the flames was like a magician's hat, bursting out clouds of colorful smoke from time to time, flowing out black, yellow, and purple water, and crawling out all kinds of strange little bugs, which made people's hair stand on end. But those things, under the blue-white flames, were burned clean in the blink of an eye. Several masters of the Judgment Army stood beside the dark demon, coldly watching the changes in the poison demon's body. The poisonous devil thought that calling him to the conference room was a routine and simple inquiry, because the people in front of him entered the conference room and asked, but they were fine and came out quickly. Then the moment he entered the conference room, he stepped into the trap and his body after being immobilized. Several masters of the Judgment Army who were ambushing in the conference room took action at the same time. The poison demon turned into a corpse on the ground without even making a sound. Seeing the strange objects exploding on the body of the dead poison demon, several masters of the Judgment Army in the conference room looked at each other, each with lingering fears. If this guy finds an opportunity to poison the water plant, the consequences will be disastrous. Fortunately, I killed him. A master of the Judgment Army let out a long breath. Yes, it's a good thing we killed him, everyone around them nodded. After the poison demon's body was burned to ashes, it was carefully burned twice more. The last bit of ashes was sealed with a piece of ice and put into a silver metal box and taken away, leaving nothing behind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 299. Ha ha ha, good, good, good. Above the Qin State's palace hall, Yang Zheng's laughter was hearty and joyful, and he said 3 good words in a row. Yang Zheng's voice was so loud that even the people guarding outside the hall, the guards, could hear it. All the civil and military personnel of the dynasty were in the main hall, quietly looking at the figure standing in the main hall. Among a group of white-haired, cunning adults, Gan Luo's 12-year-old figure seemed a bit special. Xiaopinggan stood calmly in the main hall, with no trace of arrogance on his face. He was still humble and respectful, with his hands folded, looking like an adult. Gan Luo's experience in persuading Zhang Tang to serve as Qin's special envoy to Zhao at the age of 12 is legendary. Everything is as written in the history books. Lu Buwei stood at the front of the civil servants, stroking his beard and looking at Gan Luo with a smile. Gan Luo not only earned 16 cities for the Qin kingdom this time, but also proved that Lu Buwei had a good eye for people. A 12-year-old in his family, a young retainer, can have such ability. Who can be so capable in the civil and military dynasties? The equally young Yang Zheng put his eyes on Xiaopinggan, nodded, with smiles in his eyes. Everything is just as Gan Qing said. Then Zhao State attacked Yan State Changgu this time and captured the city from Yan State Changgu 30. Then Zhao State sent me 11 more cities to Great Qin in accordance with the agreement between Gan Qing and them. These 11 cities, plus the 5 river cities that Gan Qing brought to Zhao State last time, this time, I, the Qin dynasty, conquered 16 cities without spending a single soldier. Gan Qing is only 12 years old. He has accomplished such a remarkable feat. I wonder what reward he wants. Your Majesty, the reason why the state of Zhao has sent 16 cities to our Qin dynasty is not the fault of Gan Luo, but the fact that our Qin dynasty has a wise king who strategizes and leads the Qin dynasty. Among them are Prime Minister Lu and the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty. I have devoted myself wholeheartedly to the plan of the Qin dynasty, and I have millions of tiger and wolf troops under me to frighten all directions. In this way, I can get twice the result with half the effort when I go to Zhao as an envoy, and convince the king of Zhao. If there is no king, if there is no Prime Minister Lu and all the ministers, if there are no millions of soldiers at the border, I will never do it again. Even though he can speak like a river and his tongue shines like a lotus flower, he cannot win half an inch of land from Zhao state, so Gan Luo dare not take credit. Seeing Gan Luo being so humble, not only Ying Zheng, but also all the civil and military officials in the court looked at Gan Luo with changes in their eyes and looked very satisfied. Even Lu Buwei smiled and nodded. Well, this kid is quite sensible. He is indeed Gan Mao's grandson. At this moment, this idea flashed through the minds of many people, and some people were already thinking that their granddaughters were not yet married, so they could arrange the marriage after they returned home. Ying Zheng laughed loudly after hearing this, opened his hands in the hall, and said grandly, "Qing Gan, please don't be humble. I also read history. In the history books, since ancient times, under the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, even Xia, Shang, and Zhou, there is no one who can achieve such great achievements for the country and see 16 cities at the age of 12. There has been only one Gan Qing for thousands of years. Military merit is the most important thing in our Qin dynasty. Even if a lieutenant in the army kills an enemy to the first level, it is considered meritorious. It cannot be if you don't reward me, let alone if Gan Qing has made such a great contribution and you don't reward him for his merits, how can I lead the world? Prime Minister Lu, please tell me. According to the military merits of our Qin dynasty, Gan Luo captured 16 cities for our Qin dynasty with one person. What's the reward? Lu Buwei took 2 steps out of the ranks of civil servants, glanced at Gan Luo with a smile, and said loudly, "Your Majesty, according to my great Qin military merits, I can capture 16 cities by one person, so I can bow to you and be granted the title of Prime Minister." That being the case, Gan Luo Ting Feng. Gan Luo is here. From today on, I will grant you the title of Lord of the Qin dynasty, and you will enjoy the honors of the Prime Minister when traveling. In addition, all the property and fields of Lingzhigan Mao will be given to you. From now on, when you go to court, you will be behind Prime Minister Lu. Ying Zheng in one sentence, an eternal story about a young man worshipping the Prime Minister was created. Thank you, Your Majesty, Xia Pinggan thanked him. The 12-year-old boy's feat of becoming a Prime Minister was completed. Our great Qin has a 12-year-old Prime Minister, Shang Qing. This is an unprecedented good omen. This is auspicious. Your Majesty is wise and powerful. Our great Qin will dominate the world and it will be just around the corner. Seeing that King Qin and Lu Buwei were both happy, among the courtiers, immediately, someone jumped out to say auspicious words and flattery, which attracted a group of people to agree. Auspicious. Damn it, you are the auspicious one, and your whole family is auspicious. Xia Ping'an was full of curses. As the eunuch beside Ying Zheng said retreat from the court, Ji Zhu's world was shattered. In the lounge, the light cocoon surrounding Xia Ping'an disappeared, and Xia Ping'an opened his eyes. This boundary bead that Gan Luo worshipped as Prime Minister increased the upper limit of divine power in the sky and caisson of the temple in Xia Ping'an's secret mandala by another 66 points. This time, Xia Ping'an's upper limit of divine power directly reached 4,331 points, leaving the 5 Yang realm a little closer. What a pity. Xia Ping'an secretly shook his head. If the time in the world pearl could be longer, Xia Ping'an would also like to see what happened to Gan Luo after he paid homage to the Prime Minister. According to history books, Gan Luo disappeared after he paid homage to the Prime Minister, and no more deeds or records were left. There are only various folklores. Some say that after Gan Luo paid homage to the prime minister, he realized that the Qin dynasty was not going to last long and retired directly. Others said that after Gan Luo paid homage to the prime minister, he was killed by Ying Zhen because he offended the queen. Some said Gan Luo was poisoned by Lu Buwei in the end, and some people said that Gan Luo died of illness. In short, there are all kinds of things. In Xiaopinggan's view, if Gan Luo was smart enough, it would be best for him to find an excuse to leave Xianyang and retire after becoming prime minister. He was appointed prime minister at the age of 12, and became a very popular minister all of a sudden. His career as a minister ended at the age of 12. In this position, it was almost impossible not to arouse the jealousy and fear of others. Any tree that is beautiful in the forest will be destroyed by the wind, let alone a solitary piece of wood that is so tall and so small. Judging from Gan Luo's previous IQ and judgment, he shouldn't have been unable to see that he would be the target of public criticism after becoming prime minister. Unfortunately, the boundary pearl was shattered too early, which also shattered Xiaopinggan's idea of finding the historical truth. After resting in the room for a while, Xiaopinggan picked up the last-minute boundary bead Song Dynasty wasted emperor conferred the Pig King. The reason why people who fuse this world bead will not succeed is that those who fuse are probably thinking about how to be a good emperor. They are not as perverted and ridiculous as Lu Zi. He can be called the weirdest among the weird. He directly treats his uncle as a pig. Come to captivity. Your Majesty, this is the portrait of Emperor Jiaozu. As soon as Xiaopinggan opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the solemn royal ancestral temple. Several eunuchs were standing beside him tremblingly. The royal ancestral temple was tall and majestic and enshrined some tablets. Behind those tablets, a 10-foot-long huangling came from the main hall hangs down like a long waterfall, forming a curtain, covering the portraits of the emperors of the southern Song dynasty behind the memorial tablets. If Xiaopinggan wants to see the portraits, there must be two eunuchs holding long hooks in their hands to pull the yellow silk apart, so that he can see the portraits of the emperors of the southern dynasty and Song dynasty who are enshrined here. In the portrait, Lu Yu, Emperor Wu of the Song dynasty, had a majestic appearance. At first glance, he looked like a great husband and a strange man. However, Xiaopinggan did not take it seriously, because historical records recorded that Lu Yu was 7 feet 6 inches tall and had a peculiar character. The so-called character strange is a modification made by writers. To put it bluntly, it means being ugly and different from ordinary people. The portraits in these royal and ancestral temples are all beautified, just look at them, don't take them seriously. He is actually a hero. He captured several emperors alive. Xiaopinggan pointed at Lu Yu's portrait and made a ha-ha. The eunuchs nearby were all serving Xiaopinggan, allowing Xiaopinggan to pay homage to his ancestors here. There were only 5 portraits hanging in the entire ancestral temple, and Xiaopinggan glanced at 2 in the blink of an eye. Let me see the next one. The eunuch next to him pulled away the huangling behind the tablet next to him, revealing a portrait. This is Teju, an old eunuch next to him introduced carefully. Oh, Teju is quite capable. He is the unlucky guy who gave birth to an unlucky son and was eventually beheaded by his own son. Xiaopinggan laughed. These words were not said by Xiaopinggan. But that bastard Lu Zi said it. Only the emperor dared to say this. The face of the old eunuch next to him changed, and Nono did not dare to say a word. Who is the next? The next one is Shizu, His Majesty's father. The old eunuch's head almost dropped to the ground. Another portrait appeared in front of Xiaopinggan. In the portrait, Song Shizu Lujun was also tall and majestic. Xiaopinggan curled his lips after looking at it. Is this my father? It doesn't look like it. My father has a big rosacea, which is red and ugly. In this portrait, but no, call me the painter quickly and add the rosacea to me. The people around him dare not listen to the emperor's orders. As soon as Xiaoping'an finished speaking, someone immediately went to find the palace painter. The court painter heard that the emperor wanted to add rosacea to the portrait of his father that was enshrined in the ancestral temple. He was almost frightened and did not dare to do it. Finally, under Xiaoping'an's strict order, a group of eunuchs took down the portrait and asked the painter to add an ugly reddish rosacea to the portrait of Song Shizulujun. After Xiaoping'an rewarded the painter, he left the ancestral temple with satisfaction, and the portrait of Song Shizulujun hung in the main temple. The portrait already has a big, ugly rosacea. After leaving the ancestral temple and returning to the palace, a maid came to report that the Queen Mother was ill and wanted to see His Majesty. No, 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 the patient has the most evil spirits around her, and the yin energy is strong. If I go to see her, won't it bring bad luck? Just let the imperial doctor go. Hearing the answer from the palace maid, the Empress Dowager in the harem burst into tears. What on earth have I done? When I was pregnant with him, I should have drowned him. Returning to the main hall again, Xiaoping'an directly issued an order and an imperial edict to recruit Lu Yu, king of eastern Hunan, Lu Ziran, king of Jianan, and Lu Ziwu, king of Shanyang, to Jiankang. When the three kings arrived in Jiankang and visited Xiaoping'an, Xiaoping'an had the three men arrested and placed under house arrest. Looking at the moody Lu Zi, the legs of the three kings were so frightened. Sitting in the main hall, looking at the fat body of Lu Yu, king of eastern Hunan, Xiaoping'an was also thinking about a question, whether he should be as perverted as Lu Zi. Golden Summoner. Author, Zy. Chapter 300. While Xiaoping'an was fusing the world beads in the lounge, the man wearing an iron mask in the room outside Xiaoping'an's office had been sitting cross-legged, eyes closed, silent, like a sculpture. This man could feel Xiaoping'an fused with the world beads in the lounge. Just now, when Xiaoping'an had just completed the fusion of Gan Luo's world bead, the man felt the fluctuations of divine power from Xiaoping'an's body in that room. He opened his eyes and glanced at that room. And then closed again. It's still raining outside, the Donggang inspection office is brightly lit, and the night in Shangjing is getting darker. Thinking that Xiaoping'an was fusing the world beads with peace of mind in the next room, the iron-masked man's heart was not at peace, and he felt a little inexplicable restless. The most vulnerable time for the summoner is when he is fusing the world beads. At this time, as long as he moves his finger, Xiaoping'an will be finished. The restlessness in the heart of the iron-faced man comes from the devilish voice in his heart: as long as you move your finger, that bastard will be dead. The dignity of a strong man in the Seven Yang realm cannot be trampled by his little supervisor. If Xiaoping'an is dead, no one can coerce you. Sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, the iron-masked man's fingers trembled slightly, but in the end, his fingers gradually calmed down. Annoyance turned into irritation, anger turned into anger, and unwillingness turned into unwillingness, but the reason in his heart finally calmed down the iron-masked man. He knew very well what consequences he would face if Xiaoping'an died in front of his eyes, and the consequences would make him shudder. Behind Xiaoping'an, stood the entire judgment army and the state machinery of the great Shang kingdom. This is not something he can fight against, nor can his friends, relatives, and confidants. That bastard Xiaoping'an was sure of this and was so confident in binding his life to his own. The man in the iron mask took a long breath and thought to himself, luckily, it's only half a year. It's over in half a year. It's not a long time. If you just work as a bodyguard next to that annoying guy, it won't be too difficult. Just be aware of the previous cause and effect. But, the hot pot that guy made was quite delicious. Until now, the man with the iron mask still had the lingering fragrance of the fragrant hot pot base in his mouth, which made him still want to finish it. The man in the iron mask was bored and simply focused on the heavy rain outside. He likes rainy weather, the roaring thunder in the clouds, and the flashing lightning. In his eyes, Every drop of rain in the heavy rain is the spirit of water falling from the sky, the eyes of water, the eyes of water. There was a faint smell of thunder and lightning floating in the clouds in his ears, which just matched his understanding of the secret method of the secret mandala. Water is the most soft thing, but even this soft thing, turned into air and flying in the void, can give birth to the strongest thunder. The changes between yin and yang are endlessly mysterious. In such weather, his abilities will be magnified by the celestial phenomena and become one with the Tao. The free thunder and lightning breath can extend his perception infinitely, making his whole spirit relax and integrate into it. After an unknown amount of time, the iron-masked man's closed eyes suddenly opened, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. In the heavy rain outside, as the rain soaked into the ground, as the flashing lightning exploded and dissipated in the air and raindrops, and as the thunder echoed on the ground for a long time, he felt a different atmosphere. Just underground. The figure of the sitting man in the iron mask unknowingly faded little by little, and finally turned transparent and disappeared into the room. A few minutes later, a dazzling bolt of lightning suddenly struck from the clouds in the sky and landed directly on the grass in the yard outside the Donggang Inspectorate building. A bright ball of lightning suddenly exploded on the wet grass. The electric spark, the electric light penetrated directly into the ground. Boom! The lawn moved, and a black shadow covered with fire suddenly emerged from the grass. As soon as it jumped into the air, thousands of raindrops pierced the black shadow like thousands of sharp arrows. The black shadow turned into a cloud of smoke with a bang in the air. In the smoke, a human-shaped puppet fell down and landed on the grass. In the blink of an eye, it was wet by the heavy rain. In a dark alley more than 400 meters away from the Donggang Inspectorate, a figure staggered, emerged from a wall, and spit out a mouthful of blood on the ground. The next second, the figure turned into black smoke and went towards the ground. Just when half of the black smoke penetrated into the ground, thick ice suddenly formed on the entire ground, and the black smoke directly hit the ground. Got stuck. Another bolt of lightning fell from the sky, landing on the black smoke that wanted to penetrate into the ground. The ground shattered, the black smoke shook and split, and the human form appeared again. The human form rolled on the ground, jumped up, and vomited blood again. The figure of the man in the iron mask appeared in the alley, looking coldly at the figure revealed in the black smoke. Now that you are here, why are you leaving in such a hurry? Kill. The figure turned into black smoke roared angrily, his eyes were blood red, extremely violent and overflowing with murderous intent. 6 burning fire snakes flew out from his body and rushed towards the iron-masked man. The ice on the ground fell on the fire snakes. Under the high temperature, it melted suddenly, revealing the ground again. The man in the iron mask pointed at the man and summoned a net, which flew directly towards the man. That was no ordinary snare, but a snare made of electric light. Explosion. The assassin roared. 6 fire snakes exploded. At the same time, the heavy rain in the sky turned into a water dragon, and it rushed down with its teeth and claws. Boom! The entire ground of the alley, as well as the walls on both sides, were shattered all at once. That huge movement spread far away. When the police patrolling nearby blew their whistles and rushed over, the ground in the alley was scorched black, there were 2 big holes, and the scene was a mess. When the light cocoon on Xiaopingan disappeared and the noise on his body stopped, Xiaopingan slowly opened his eyes as if he had woken up from a long dream. Xiaopingan looked at the upper limit of divine power in his secret mandala, which had increased to 4,519 points, and smiled with satisfaction. After working on this world bead all night, his hard work was indeed not in vain. In Jizu, Xiaopingan's incarnation of the deposed Emperor Luzi of the Song dynasty continued to designate Lu Yu as the Pig King, and raised the princes of the Lu Song dynasty like pigs, and tortured him in various ways, just like what happened in history. But just when Lu Yu and the palace guards conspired to say that there was a ghost somewhere in the palace, and wanted to trick Luzi into catching the ghost. In fact, he wanted to assassinate Luzi. Xiaoping'an discovered the conspiracy between Lu Yu and the palace guards in time, and I came down and was deeply touched by this incident. Xiaoping'an pardoned Lu Yu and the palace guards for the crime of rebellion, and since then he changed his mind and started a new life. He changed his previous lustful and violent ways, issued several edicts to expose his crimes to the world, and also pursued the names of those who had been killed by him indiscriminately in the past. And then worked hard to govern, select talents, and finally let the Lusong dynasty rule the world, end the war in the world, and let the people live and work in peace and contentment. Luzi in the Realm Pearl finally changed from the deposed emperor to the divine sect. The final result was that Xiaoping'an had made an absurd mistake in this world beat and sealed the title of Pig King. At the same time, Xiaoping'an, who ended his absurdity, also broke through Luzi's historical destiny, finally pacified the world and created a peaceful and prosperous age. Therefore, in the end, in addition to giving Xiaoping'an 188 points of divine power, this world beat also gave Xiaoping'an a powerful and strange transformation spell. That Pig King was not sealed in vain. With another 731 points of divine power, I will advance to the 5 Yang realm. Xiaoping'an smiled, stretched, opened the door of the lounge, and came to the office outside, only to find that it was almost dark outside. It's getting brighter, and the rain last night has stopped. It seems to be a good day today. In a little while, the people from the inspectorate will come to work. The door of the office was pushed open, and the man in the iron mask walked in without knocking. In one hand, he was holding an unconscious man with burnt hair and wearing a black hole-in-the-wall outfit that looked like he had been struck by lightning. This is... Xiaoping'an looked at the man held by the iron-masked man and felt familiar, and narrowed his eyes slightly. The man in the iron mask threw the man in black directly at Xiaoping'an's feet, and said calmly, "The assassin you are talking about must be this person. He sneaked into the inspectorate last night and was discovered by me. He has been captured."